The sirens wailed across Portland as 16-year-old Olivia Richardson stared at the crimson sky. What had started as a routine weekend camping trip with her scout troop had turned into something out of a nightmare. The massive ships appeared without warning, their obsidian hulls reflecting the setting sun like polished mirrors. "Everyone inside the cabin, now," shouted Marcus, their troop leader, his voice barely carrying over the wind. The scouts scrambled into the old Forest Service cabin, its wooden walls offering little comfort against whatever lurked above. Olivia counted heads, all 12 scouts accounted for. 16-year-old James Wu, the troop's tech expert, hunched over his ham radio, desperately scanning frequencies. "The military channels are chaos," he reported, his fingers dancing across the dials. "They're talking about simultaneous attacks across every major city." Olivia peered through a gap in the boards covering the windows. The ships hung motionless, like dark stars against the blood-red sky. Then came the sound, a deep, resonating hum that made her teeth ache and her bones vibrate. The air itself seemed to ripple. "Look," shouted Rachel Martinez, pointing through another gap. Streams of iridescent light poured from the ships, each beam striking the ground with surgical precision. Where they touched, strange structures began to grow, metallic spires that reached toward the sky like silver trees. The next 72 hours were a blur of terror and confusion. The scouts watched helplessly as their phones died, power grids failed, and the few emergency broadcasts they could pick up on James's radio grew increasingly desperate. The aliens, if that's what they were, moved with terrifying efficiency. Their weapons weren't designed to destroy infrastructure or kill indiscriminately. Instead, they deployed what James called selective EMP pulses that disabled military equipment while leaving civilian technology mostly intact. Their ground forces, gleaming mechanical constructs that moved with unsettling grace, methodically rounded up adults and herded them into the growing alien structures. But something strange happened, or rather, didn't happen. The aliens seemed to ignore anyone under 18. "It's like we're invisible to them," Olivia whispered during an emergency troop meeting on the fourth day. They had moved to an abandoned ranger station deeper in the forest, away from the alien patrols. "Their scanners pass right over us." Marcus nodded grimly. "They probably don't consider children a threat." He spread a map across the station's desk, weighted down with their dwindling supply of granola bars. "But that's their mistake. We're not just kids, we're scouts. We're trained in survival, first aid, engineering, and most importantly, we know these forests better than anyone." James looked up from his laptop, one of the few pieces of technology they had managed to keep running. "I've been analyzing their patrol patterns. They're systematic, predictable. And I noticed something else, their ground units emit a specific frequency. If we could replicate it, we could move among them undetected," Olivia finished, her mind racing with possibilities. She remembered the merit badge workshop on robotics she had attended last summer. "The machine shop at my school, it's small, but it has everything we need. Tools, materials, 3D printers." Rachel, who had been quietly sketching in her notebook, spoke up. "We're not the only scout troop out here. There must be others who escaped the roundups. If we could contact them, coordinate." Marcus studied the faces of his scouts, seeing not children, but humanity's last, best hope. "It's dangerous. If we're caught." He didn't need to finish the sentence. They had all seen what happened to the adults who resisted. "We're already caught," Olivia said firmly. "At least this way we're fighting back." The next week was a flurry of careful preparation. They made contact with 3 other scout troops who had also escaped the initial invasion. James worked tirelessly to crack the aliens' communication codes, while Olivia and Rachel began designing crude but effective countermeasures using their combined knowledge of engineering and electronics. The school's machine shop became their secret base of operations. During the day, they scavenged materials from abandoned buildings and vehicles. At night, they worked by lamplight, building their resistance one piece at a time. Their first success was a simple signal jammer that could temporarily confuse alien patrols. But their real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. 12-year-old Danny Parker, the youngest of their group, had been watching the alien constructs with intense fascination. "They're like big batteries," he explained one evening, sketching rapidly. "See how they pulse. They're collecting energy from the air itself. If we could tap into that." The idea was audacious, perhaps impossible, but it gave them hope. And hope, Olivia realized, was just as powerful as any weapon. They weren't just surviving anymore, they were planning, preparing, and soon, they would fight back. As the sun set on their second week of resistance, Olivia stood at the machine shop window, watching distant alien patrols sweep the city streets. Their mechanical sentries moved with that same fluid grace, unaware that right under their sensors, a revolution was brewing. A revolution led not by soldiers or politicians, but by children who had sworn an oath to be prepared for anything. "We're ready for the first test," James called from the workshop floor, where their prototype sat under a tarp. It wasn't much to look at, a cobbled-together mess of salvaged parts and repurposed electronics, but it represented something powerful, proof that humanity wouldn't go quietly into the night. As Olivia helped pull away the tarp, she smiled grimly. The aliens had made a crucial mistake in dismissing Earth's children. They were about to learn that sometimes the smallest opponents could be the most dangerous. The resistance was about to begin, and it would start with the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of America. The old machine shop hummed with activity as dawn broke over the devastated Portland skyline. Dozens of young hands worked tirelessly, transforming scavenged metal and salvaged electronics into weapons of resistance. In just 3 weeks, their operation had grown from 12 scouts to nearly 50, each bringing unique skills and desperate determination. Olivia wiped sweat from her forehead as she calibrated another energy converter. The technology they developed was crude but effective, a fusion of traditional engineering and reverse-engineered alien tech. James had nicknamed them "ghost boxes" for their ability to mask human biosignatures from alien scanners. "Power reading stable," called out Kira Patel, a 14-year-old electronics whiz from Troop 242. She had escaped the initial roundup by hiding in her father's radio repair shop, and her expertise with communication systems had proved invaluable. "We're getting consistent output at 70% efficiency." Their greatest advantage was the aliens' continued underestimation of Earth's youth. While adult resistance had been brutally crushed, the invaders paid little attention to groups of teenagers scavenging through ruins. They never suspected that those same teenagers were slowly building an arsenal. "Movement at Checkpoint 3, crackled the radio. Peter Wong's voice was steady despite his youth. At 13, he'd become one of their best scouts, able to slip through alien patrols like a shadow. "New type of sentinel. Looks like they've upgraded." James pulled up the surveillance feed on his cobbled-together command center. The new alien sentinel was sleeker than its predecessors, its silver surface rippling like liquid mercury. "They're adapting," he muttered. "Learning from their encounters with the adult resistance." "Then we'll adapt too," Olivia replied, pulling out their latest project blueprints. "Show me what you see, Peter. Every detail matters." The scouts had developed their own code language, mixing traditional hand signals with new symbols specific to their fight. Information flowed constantly between their growing network of resistance cells, other scout troops who had escaped the initial invasion and joined their cause. In the corner, Marcus supervised combat training. They'd converted scout wilderness survival skills into urban warfare tactics. Rock climbing became building infiltration, tracking badges now served to avoid alien patrols, and first aid expanded to include treating energy weapon burns. "We've confirmed reports from Seattle," Rachel announced, marking another point on their map. "Troop 355 successfully established a resistance cell. That makes 7 major operations along the West Coast." The news brought cautious smiles. Each new cell represented hope, proof that they weren't alone in this fight. But it also meant more responsibility, more young lives depending on their leadership and innovation. Their latest breakthrough came from studying the aliens' energy collection systems. Danny's initial observation had led to a startling discovery: the invaders' technology was vulnerable to specific electromagnetic frequencies. It wasn't enough to destroy them, but it could disrupt their systems long enough to matter. Test sequence initiating, Kira announced, powering up their prototype disruptor. The device looked like a mess of copper wire and salvaged circuit boards, but its effect on alien tech was undeniable. In the test chamber, a captured alien sensor unit sparked and went dark. Duration? James asked, fingers flying across his keyboard. 17 seconds, Kira replied. Better than yesterday, but still not enough for a coordinated strike. Olivia studied the data readings. What if we're thinking about this wrong? We don't need to shut them down completely. We just need to blind them long enough to strike. The idea sparked a flurry of new designs. While the adults had tried to match the alien superior firepower, the scouts focused on subterfuge and disruption. They weren't building an army, they were creating chaos. Their workshop became a laboratory of innovation. Old chemistry sets were repurposed to analyze alien materials. Physics textbooks provided the foundation for understanding the invaders' energy weapons. Every scout merit badge requirement became a potential weapon in their arsenal. But it wasn't just about building weapons. They had to maintain hope, keep spirits high among increasingly tired and scared young people. Movie nights became strategy sessions. Campfire songs turned into resistance anthems. The scout motto, "Be prepared," took on new meaning. "We've got movement in Sector 7, Peter's voice crackled over the radio again. "Big movement. They're sweeping the industrial district." The room fell silent. The industrial district was too close to their base for comfort. Had they been discovered? Were the aliens finally catching on to their operation? "Initiate Protocol Thunderbird," Marcus ordered calmly. They had prepared for this. Within minutes, the workshop transformed. Projects disappeared under false floors, computers wiped themselves clean, and scouts assumed their cover positions as simple scavengers. Through it all, Olivia felt a strange calm. They had come so far from those first terrifying days. They weren't just surviving anymore, they were fighting back. Every small victory, every successful test, every new recruit added to their strength. As she helped conceal their latest prototype, Olivia caught sight of their troop flag, still proudly displayed in the corner. The Scout Law spoke of being trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. They had adapted those principles for a world at war, but the core remained the same: service to others, duty to their community, and the courage to stand up for what's right. "All clear in Sector 7, Peter reported after tense minutes. "False alarm. Looks like they're maintaining standard patrol patterns." The workshop slowly returned to life, but the close call left its mark. They needed to accelerate their plans. The aliens wouldn't underestimate them forever, and when that moment came, they needed to be ready. As night fell over Portland, Olivia watched young scouts continue their work with quiet determination. Tomorrow they would test their new disruption technology. Tomorrow they would move one step closer to taking back their world. Tomorrow they would prove that the human spirit, especially when young and unbowed, was a force even alien invaders should fear. The full moon cast long shadows across Portland's ruined skyline as 50 young scouts prepared for their first major offensive. Operation Shadow Strike had been weeks in planning, each detail meticulously worked out through countless late-night strategy sessions. "Final equipment check," Olivia ordered, her voice barely above a whisper. Around her, scouts verified their gear, disruption devices, communication units, and the newly developed phantom suits that masked their biological signatures from alien scanners. James monitored the command center's displays, each screen showing different sectors of their target, a massive alien processing facility where hundreds of adults were held captive. Patrol patterns are consistent. No deviation in the last 72 hours. Team assignments confirmed, Rachel reported, checking her tablet. They had divided into 5 strike teams, each with a specific objective. Ghost Team will handle perimeter disruption. Phoenix Team is ready for distraction protocols. Dragon Team standing by for primary infiltration. Kira's voice crackled over the secure channel. Power grid readings are stable. Their energy collection is at peak efficiency, perfect timing for an overload. She had spent days analyzing the facility's power systems, identifying critical vulnerabilities. The plan was audacious but carefully calculated. They would use the aliens' own energy collection system against them, creating a cascading failure that would temporarily disable their security measures. In the chaos, strike teams would move in to free the prisoners. Remember, Marcus addressed the gathered scouts, his voice steady and reassuring. We've trained for this. Trust your teammates, follow the protocols, and if anything goes wrong, fall back to emergency positions. No heroics. Olivia checked her watch, 0200 hours. Ghost Team, you have the go. 5 shadows detached from the group, moving with practiced stealth toward the facility's perimeter. Among them was Peter, their best infiltrator, carrying the prototype disruption device. The next 20 minutes passed in tense silence as Ghost Team positioned the disruptors around the facility. Each device had to be placed precisely to create an overlapping field of interference. One misalignment could compromise the entire operation. Ghost Team in position, Peter's whisper came through crystal clear on their encrypted channel. All units showing green. James initiated the countdown sequence. Disruption field charging. Full saturation in 30 seconds. The air seemed to vibrate with unseen energy as the disruptors powered up. Alien sentinels continued their patrol routes, oblivious to the trap being sprung around them. Then, at precisely 0230 hours, everything changed. The disruption field activated with a subsonic pulse that made teeth rattle and ears pop. Alien technology throughout the facility flickered and stuttered. Security barriers wavered like heat mirages before dissolving completely. Mechanical sentinels froze mid-stride, their liquid metal surfaces rippling in confusion. Phoenix Team, go. Olivia commanded. Rachel led her group forward, deploying sonic charges that mimicked the signature of adult resistance fighters. The remaining alien sentinels turned toward the false threat, leaving other sectors vulnerable. Dragon Team, led by Olivia herself, moved in through the gaps. They had memorized the facility's layout from weeks of surveillance, and now they moved with purpose through darkened corridors. The phantom suits worked perfectly, even when they passed within feet of alien sensors, no alarms sounded. Inside the facility, they found rows of containment cells, each holding dozens of adults in some kind of stasis. Life signs are stable, reported Michael Chen, a 15-year-old medical trainee who had joined them from another troop. The stasis field appears to be minimal, they should wake quickly once we shut it down. But as they reached the central control hub, something went wrong. The alien systems began adapting faster than their models had predicted. Emergency protocols they hadn't seen before activated, sending waves of reinforcements converging on their position. New contact. Kira's urgent voice filled their comms. Unknown energy signature approaching from the upper atmosphere. It's huge. Through the facility's transparent ceiling panels, they could see it, a massive vessel, different from the others. Its surface writhed with patterns of light that seemed almost organic, and its presence filled the air with a strange, electric tension. Abort? James asked, his fingers hovering over the emergency recall signal. Olivia looked at the containment cells, at the faces of parents, teachers, and neighbors trapped in alien stasis. They had come too far to turn back now. Negative. Initiate Protocol Omega. All teams, execute your secondaries. Protocol Omega was their contingency plan, riskier but potentially more devastating to alien operations. Instead of a careful extraction, they would overload the facility's entire power grid, forcing an emergency shutdown of all systems including the stasis fields. The next few minutes were chaos. As Kira triggered the power surge, the facility's alien architecture began to twist and buckle. Emergency lights strobed in alien colors as warning signals screamed in frequencies that hurt human ears. Through it all, scout teams moved with desperate efficiency, guiding disoriented adults toward pre-planned escape routes. Hostile forces converging on Sector 7. Peter reported. We need an alternate exit. Understood. Dragon Team, clear a path to Extraction Point Beta. Phoenix Team, deploy remaining charges for maximum confusion. Ghost Team, maintain disruption field as long as possible. The alien reinforcements moved with frightening speed and coordination, unlike anything they had encountered before. But the scouts had surprise and desperation on their side, and most importantly, they had each other. As the facility began to tear itself apart from the power overload, Olivia watched her fellow scouts guide hundreds of adults to safety. Not everything had gone according to plan, but they had achieved their primary objective. More importantly, they had proven that the aliens weren't invincible. The mysterious vessel still loomed overhead as they made their final retreat, its presence a reminder that the war was far from over. But as Olivia looked at the determined faces of her fellow scouts, she knew they would face whatever came next together. Dawn broke over Portland as the last teams returned to base. They had suffered no casualties, rescued over 300 adults, and dealt the alien occupation its first significant defeat. But the appearance of the new vessel worried Olivia. The aliens were changing their strategy, which meant the scouts would need to change theirs too. As she helped process the rescued adults and gather intelligence from their experiences in captivity, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that they had just entered a new phase of the war. The aliens would no longer underestimate Earth's children, and that meant their next move would have to be even bolder. The debriefing room buzzed with tension as the rescued adults shared their stories. Olivia listened intently, noting every detail about their time in alien captivity. What emerged was both fascinating and terrifying. They weren't just holding us, explained Dr. Isabella Blackwood, a quantum physicist who had been among the first captured. They were studying us. Learning how we think, how we adapt. But they seemed particularly interested in our children. The revelation sent a chill through the assembled scout leaders. James pulled up surveillance footage of the new vessel that had appeared during their raid. The timing can't be coincidental. They show up right when we strike. Look at these readings, Kira added, displaying complex energy patterns on her screen. The new ship's emissions are completely different from the others. It's like, it's alive somehow. Their base of operations had expanded significantly since the rescue. The adults, once they recovered from the shock of being saved by children, had thrown themselves into supporting the resistance. But they worked under the scouts' leadership. Experience had proven that the younger minds were better at thinking around alien defenses. We've detected similar vessels appearing over other major cities, Rachel reported, updating their global map. Red dots flickered across every continent. All within hours of resistance activities. Olivia studied the pattern, something nagging at her thoughts. They're not just responding to us. They're learning from us. Each new ship appears with adaptations based on previous encounters. The implications were staggering. The aliens weren't just invaders, they were researchers, and humanity was their subject. But why focus on Earth's youth? What had they seen in the planet's children that made them so interesting? A commotion at the perimeter interrupted their discussion. Peter burst into the room, breathing hard. You need to see this. Now. Outside, the evening sky had taken on an unusual purple hue. The new alien vessel hung lower than the others, its surface rippling with patterns that seemed to respond to human thoughts and emotions. As they watched, tendrils of light reached down from the ship, touching various points across the city. "They're not attacking," Dr. Blackwood observed, her scientific curiosity evident. "This is something else. Some kind of communication attempt." The answer came from an unexpected source. 12-year-old Nina Rodriguez, who had been unusually quiet since the rescue, stepped forward. Her eyes reflected the alien lights as she spoke. "They're looking for the dreamers." Before anyone could question her meaning, Nina clutched her head and collapsed. Similar scenes played out across their base as other young scouts fell to their knees, overwhelmed by sudden headaches. The alien vessel pulsed with increasing intensity. "Get everyone inside," Marcus ordered, helping Nina to her feet. "Activate the electromagnetic shielding." The protective field they had developed to mask their activities now served as a barrier against whatever influence the aliens were attempting to exert. As the affected scouts recovered, they shared fragments of what they had experienced, glimpses of alien thoughts, flashes of otherworldly perspectives. "They're not just studying us," Nina explained once she could speak clearly. "They're trying to understand why we're different. The adults, they're too fixed in their thinking, too set in their ways. But we can still adapt, still change." Dr. Blackwood's eyes widened with understanding. "Of course. Neural plasticity. Young minds are more flexible, more capable of radical new connections. They're not underestimating our children, they're fascinated by them." This new understanding brought both opportunity and danger. If the aliens were so interested in human cognitive development, it meant their resistance had a chance. But it also meant they were dealing with something far more complex than simple invaders. "We need to know more," Olivia decided. "If they're studying us, we need to study them back. And we need to figure out what they're really after before they figure out how to control us." The next few days saw their operation transform. Under Dr. Blackwood's guidance, they began analyzing the alien communications attempts. The scouts who had experienced the strongest connections worked with adult scientists to document and understand their experiences. But they had to move quickly. Each passing day brought new developments. The alien vessels were adapting, their attempts at communication becoming more sophisticated. Some scouts reported increasingly vivid dreams, while others developed unexpected sensitivities to alien technology. "They're trying to bridge the gap," James theorized, reviewing the data. "Not just between species, but between different ways of thinking. They see human children as a possible connection point." The question was whether this connection would lead to understanding or control. The aliens' methods were becoming more aggressive, their presence more pervasive. They had to find answers before it was too late. Through it all, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The aliens' fascination with Earth's youth suggested a deeper purpose. What did they want? What were they preparing for? As she watched Nina and other affected scouts work with the scientists, Olivia realized they were racing against time. The aliens were building towards something, and the human resistance, led by children, might be the only thing standing between Earth and whatever the invaders ultimately planned. The purple sky had become a constant reminder of their situation. The alien vessel hung above them like a question mark, its presence both threatening and enticing. They needed a new plan, something that would turn the aliens' interest in human youth from a vulnerability into a weapon. As night fell, Olivia gathered her core team. If the aliens wanted to understand human children, perhaps it was time to show them exactly what Earth's young defenders were capable of. But first, they needed to uncover the truth behind the invasion, and Nina's connection might be the key to everything. The underground command center hummed with nervous energy as Olivia presented their most daring plan yet. Nina stood beside her, pale but determined, her connection to the alien consciousness now their greatest asset. "They're not just studying us," Nina explained to the assembled scouts and adults. "They're preparing us. Earth isn't their first stop, it's their last hope." Through Nina's enhanced connection, they had discovered a truth more startling than anyone imagined. The aliens weren't invaders in the traditional sense, they were refugees, running from something that had already consumed countless other worlds. They sought not to conquer Earth, but to transform it, to prepare humanity for a threat even they couldn't face alone. They chose Earth because of us, because of the children, Nina continued. Our adaptability, our creativity, our ability to see possibilities where adults see only limitations. They believe we might succeed where their civilization failed. Dr. Blackwood's team had confirmed Nina's revelations through analysis of alien communication patterns. Their technology isn't just advanced, she explained. It's designed to evolve, to merge with developing minds. They're not trying to control our children, they're trying to give them the tools to fight something worse. But the aliens' methods were flawed, their desperate attempts at preparation causing more harm than good. They didn't understand that human strength came not from biological enhancement or technological superiority, but from something far more basic, the ability to work together, to trust, to hope. We need to show them another way, Olivia announced. Not their way, not even our way, but something new. Something that combines their technology with our humanity. The plan was audacious. Using Nina's connection and the Scouts' proven ability to adapt alien tech, they would attempt direct communication with the vessel above. Not to fight, but to teach, to show the aliens what they had overlooked in their clinical study of human potential. As preparations began, each scout contributed their unique skills. James and Kira modified their disruption technology to serve as a communication bridge. Rachel coordinated with other resistance cells worldwide, ensuring simultaneous action across all contact points. Peter's team secured the perimeter against both alien and human interference. Not everyone would understand or support their attempt at cooperation. The chosen night arrived clear and cold, the purple sky ablaze with alien light. 50 scouts formed a circle in the old park, their phantom suits modified to amplify rather than mask their presence. Nina stood in the center, ready to serve as their primary link. Remember, Olivia addressed them one last time. We're not just doing this for ourselves. We're doing it for every world that's already fallen, and every world that might yet be saved. We're doing it because that's what scouts do, we help, we learn, and we face the unknown with courage. The connection began subtly, a whisper in the mind, a flicker of shared consciousness. Through Nina, they felt the aliens' surprise, their growing understanding. Images flashed between species, scenes of scout troops working together, of young minds finding innovative solutions, of human children supporting each other through adversity. The alien vessel descended lower than ever before, its surface rippling with new patterns. Tendrils of light reached down, not to control or study, but to learn. For the first time, the aliens experienced human potential as it truly was, not as raw material to be shaped, but as partners in facing a common threat. Through the connection, the scouts glimpsed what the aliens feared, a void between galaxies, spreading like a cancer, consuming all in its path. But they also shared their own experiences, showing how Earth's children had faced impossible odds with determination and hope. The breakthrough came not as a dramatic flash of understanding, but as a quiet realization. The aliens had sought to prepare humanity through control and modification. Instead, they discovered that humanity, especially its youth, was already prepared in its own unique way. Hours passed as knowledge and experience flowed between species. The scouts shared their methods of resistance, their adaptability, their unwavering spirit. The aliens shared technological insights and warnings of what was to come. Together, they began to forge something unprecedented, a true partnership between worlds. As dawn approached, the alien vessel's surface transformed, taking on patterns that reflected both species' influences. The other ships across the globe responded in kind, their imposing presence softening into something more collaborative. The adults who had been held in stasis were released, their minds unchanged but enriched with understanding. The alien structures that had dominated Earth's cities began to reshape themselves, becoming centers of cooperation rather than control. Olivia watched the sunrise with new eyes, Nina standing tired but proud beside her. They had achieved something remarkable, not just saving Earth, but potentially saving two civilizations. The aliens would stay, not as conquerors or manipulators, but as allies in preparing for the greater threat to come. The Scout motto, "Be prepared," had taken on a whole new meaning. They had shown that true preparation came not from advanced technology or biological enhancement, but from the strength found in working together, in believing in each other, and in facing challenges with both courage and compassion. As the new day dawned, Scout troops across the world began integrating alien knowledge with human ingenuity. The invasion had become a renaissance, and Earth's children led the way. The void between galaxies still loomed as a distant threat, but now they would face it not as separate species, but as a united force. What happens next? Nina asked, watching the transformed alien vessels shimmer in the morning light. Olivia smiled, thinking of all the possibilities ahead. We do what Scouts do best, we learn, we grow, and we help others do the same. We've got a whole universe to explore, and now we've got new friends to explore it with. The war was over, but their greatest adventure was just beginning. The day aliens discovered human Scouts had built battle-ready machines had become the day both species discovered something far more valuable, hope for the future, and the power of working together.